Good morning and welcome to the August segment of Beyond Boundaries. Today I want to talk about impact. A lot of times we hear this word impact and I don't think we're really clear on what that means to us as leaders. And so impact is truly value realized. And when we think about it in the context of work and organizations and leadership, people create value. And so if people create value, then leaders have to create the context in order for people to be valuable. We're in what's considered to be a smart era right now. And in the smart era, the one thing that is constant is that there's an expectation for growth and, quite frankly, for it to be at an exponential rate. And so when we talk about smart growth really happens by design. And so if we're really going to create organizations and design our platform for leadership to really create the impact that we're desiring to have and really articulate through our work and through our people and our initiatives, then we've really got to be smart about it. So I want to unpack that a little bit today. The first thing is when we talk about growth, it's really, really critical to understand that it's not just about individual growth. When you're a leader and an executive leader at that, and you're leading your organization places that it has never gone before, or even reinventing it in ways to work faster, smarter, bigger, more agile, whatever the context is you want to create, the first thing you've got to understand is there are three components to this growth. There's the personal growth, there's the team growth, and then there's growth for the organization. And a lot of times I see with many organizations, the personal growth overshadows everything else. That is a dilemma that will cause organizations to fail and fail quickly. The personal agenda cannot override or usurp the importance of why the organization exists in the first place. So in the event that a leader sees that an organization's purpose is no longer relevant, then you've got to reinvent it, not shift and change without making those changes known in the context of what it means to the work for other people. So let's think about that. What does it really mean to be in a smart era? Well, more than ever before, we have information, resources at our fingertips. And it's at a rate and it's really in a capacity that we've never seen before. The digital era really created a leveling of the playing field, if you will, for us to get information. So therefore, we see a lot of things that would have taken forever to get to market or things for us to be able to realize what was happening. It gets us a lot faster. And that does not exclude what we do as leaders. And so people are able to see the impact that we're making or not making faster than maybe they've ever been able to see it in the past. And so with that, we've got to be very intentional about what messages we communicate and how we communicate it, and make sure that those things are aligned with where the organization is going or what the organization is intended to do. This goes for any type of organization or business that is. So I want to talk more about alignment then. So when we talk about alignment has all to do with making sure that everything we do is in sync and it supports what we say our purpose for either doing business or operating an organization is. So with that, I see a lot of times that alignment doesn't happen because it cannot happen in a vacuum. Alignment is not something that the executive team creates and then hopefully the rest of the organization will catch the vibe, if you will. Alignment is something that we do collectively. And so which brings me to the next thing. When we talk about working smarter, we've got to have shared accountability and we've got to have collaboration. So I want to step back a bit and talk about talent. So when we bring people into our organizations, one of the first things we want to do is we are always saying that we want to bring in individuals that are going to help us, again, coming back to that word growth, grow and take the organization places that it's never gone before. And so in doing that, we can't create a silo effect where we don't give way for those individuals to speak up and be very honest about the things that may or may not be serving the organization. That leads us to what we call disruption. And so when we sometimes look at disruption as a negative thing, then we miss opportunities to really scale the exponential impact of the organization. So disruption is something that we really need to think about. What is it that we really get from, an employee or another leader or someone saying, this doesn't feel, this doesn't move, this doesn't sound, this doesn't act like, or whatever it is, the things that the organization says that it's all about. We have to listen to that. And as leaders, we need to understand that the one thing that is constant, again, is for us to be able to deliver on the growth spectrum. And if we're not growing the organization, if we're not moving it forward, then therein comes the question of what are we really doing? So there's one way to sum this all up. It's about pruning the non-essentials. And that includes the things that you're doing as well as the needs that you might be responding to. So some might look at that as supply and demand, and that's really what it is. So if there are things you're doing and they're not really leading you forward, then you've got to alleviate those things. You've got to scale back and make sure you're responding to what the core purpose of the organization or the business is, whatever that might be. And so if I had to give you a formula for really creating value in an exponential way in your organization, in your life, in your leadership, in everything that you do, I would sum it up with a few simple things. The first one is begin by working with reality. It is what it is. You know, that's a cliche that a lot of times I don't think we really look at the value of what that it is what it is cliche gives us, but really work with reality. Whatever it is that you're dealing with and whatever it is that you're experiencing, it's not going to be something different simply because you just say it is. You're going to have to design for the difference you want. And so in doing that, you got to think bigger, you've got to start smaller, and you've got to move faster. And what that means is you've got to expand beyond whatever it is that satisfies your own personal agenda or your own personal likes or dislikes. And you've got to start smaller. You've got to start where you can add some immediate impact and value. And you've got to move that fairly quickly. The only way you're going to move that really quickly is to work collaboratively. Things cannot operate or occur in a vacuum if you really want to have the agility and have the impact and have the forward movement in your organization or your business that you truly intend to. So you've got to work collaboratively. The other thing is you've got to evolve. You've got to understand that the thinking that you may have had before may not lead you where you want to go now. And so old thinking, old habits, old ways of acting, those things may have served you, but they will not allow you to elevate and escalate the value that you want to bring to your organization as well as those that you serve through the work of your organization. And then I'd also talk about designing for the future. The future is something that every single day we all get up and we think about it, whether we're planning for a future event, we're planning for a career, we're planning for a family milestone. We're always thinking for the future. And it really happens whether we want it to or not. And so why not design for what we want? And in designing for what we want, we've got to really be honest about where we are and where we want to go, and then create the intentionality and take the steps that really would put us in a position to find ourselves where we want to end up. And so with that being said, impact, right? We started out by talking about impact. Impact really is the creation of value and the manifestation of that value. And so if you're saying you want to make impact through your work, impact through your leadership, and you're finding that you're falling short of there, I'd say step in and evaluate a few of those things. One of the things I notice in the clients that I work with is there's a lot of expectation for organizations to create high profit margins and high return on whatever the investment might be that they are putting into the business in order to move it forward. But the question I always ask is, how are you checking in and inspecting what you expect from the business? And a lot of that is, are you having conversation? Are you measuring it? Are you looking for ways to determine if the value is even relevant that you're trying to create? And so something that we see through social media, and I think we could take a really big lesson from it, is that with this immediate access, because of the age of acceleration, you've got to really think about what people are saying they want and what people are really responding to. And that does not exclude your organization. A lot of times the issues that leaders are facing in organizations, it's not new to them. They've just not paid attention to it. And so I would say to you, when we talk about growth and impact, we've got to pay attention to the cues and clues that allow us to see whether or not we are growing and leading in the direction in which we intended to in the first place. So I want to leave that with you today. Think about how you are truly making an impact. And if impact is what you want, then is there value attached to the activities and the things and the conversations that you're having? If there's not, then you're probably not making an impact. You have an intention. And if the intention is not aligned with actions and beliefs and habits and thinking that really leads you forward, those intentions will not lead you to the reality that you expect. So let that sink in and take you beyond the boundaries that may be limiting your impact.